program may be pre-recorded.
You are listening to a special episode of The Gailey Show covering the announcement this morning from Border Czar Tom Homan that Operation Metro Surge will come to an end here in Minnesota. So for folks who are tuning in for our regular episode that was going to feature Lucas Schleusener from Out in National Security, we're going to actually have that episode for you tomorrow at 2 p.m. here in Minneapolis, 10 p.m. in Chicago. All right, there is a lot to unpack here and a lot of breaking news related to this announcement. I think the first thing that I want to make sure that we mention is what Minneapolis City Council President Elliot Payne posted on social media this morning on his Instagram account. He said, quote, "Don't be fooled by headlines from the federal government when they've been lying to us the whole time. We still need you out patrolling until every single last agent is gone." There was an individual in Northeast Minneapolis today who was detained after agents, I don't want to say drove him off the road, but they were driving and then they, pulled him out of his car, smashed in the window, detained him, arrested him. And then, according to Minneapolis City Council member Jason Chavez, who posted just in the past hour that the individual was released. And so the individual, I'm not going to name his name here on the air, his friend posted on social media that he has documentation. He has valid work visas to be here. He has lived here with his family for 20 years. And so it does not surprise me when Councilmember Chavez posted that they had just taken him indiscriminately because he was Latino. So these tactics are still continuing. Right. So I want to be very mindful of that. If you go to People Over Papers, that website where legal observers track, there's a map. You can see all of the activity that is still at levels that we have seen previous days. So you would think that if there was a drawdown and it was coming to an end, you might see that number go down. But,
This is Jim Pounds. I have a question. Do you think this means that it's just a PR lie, or what do you think?
So here's what Homan said this morning, because it's a great question. Again, I want to say that no specific timeline was given in Homan's press conference this morning. He said, quote, "A significant drawdown has already been underway this week and will continue through the next week." So how many people have gone away this week? We don't know. How many people will leave next week? We don't know. How many people will remain? We don't know. Governor Walz said that he expects it to go back to about 150, which was the number of ICE agents that were here pre-Operation Metro Surge.
I just wonder, the one thing through this whole thing that has surprised me, we know a lot of our people, good, hardworking people, working at the hotels that these creeps are staying at. And although we've gotten a little bit of information about that at the beginning, there's been an astonishing lack of clarity about where these people are holed up. We don't have military facilities in this state, thank God. And so they can't hide in squirrel themselves away in some military place, although Fort Snelling is what they're using. But so they're staying in commercial hotels and they're profiting off of this crap. And I really am disappointed that more of those hotels, to my knowledge, haven't been outed and that their location hasn't been outed. In fact, Bovino was apparently hiding up in Maple Grove. We finally learned when he left. But we should have been getting that information every day. We should have known where people were staying and what was going on from people who work there and are probably on our side.
That was not publicly disclosable information, but I understand what you're saying. So Homan said in the press conference, quote, "The surge operation and our work here with state and local officials to improve coordination and achieve mutual goals have yielded the successful results we have came here for in the Twin Cities, Minnesota in general." So I think there's a big question of what were those goals to begin with? And when he talks about unprecedented coordination with state officials, what was that coordination? Like, did Walz or Minnesota Governor Walz or Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, did they give them something? I know that there were county jails that were creating some type of an agreement with ICE that Hennepin County Mary Moriarty was like, anything that you do may violate state law, so knock it off until it has legal review. So I think there is still some question of what was that coordination that he keeps talking about? Like, is this just him saying stuff because the Trump administration lies all the time? So is he just saying stuff to say, we were successful, we got all the cooperation, even though there wasn't any cooperation? Or was there actually concessions that were made by the state?
I don't think there were any concessions. I think they said, yes, we'll do that. You've heard other countries say, yeah, we've agreed to the crap that they say, but we were already doing it. So we're just saying it so they feel better about themselves. And Holman, I'm sorry, is a congenital liar. So there's nothing he says that I don't even like reporting what he said because I don't believe it. I believe independent confirmation, like you've said before, from other sources of what's going on. And that's what I'm not hearing from our side.
Now we can independently start to confirm what he's saying. Like, he was making other claims that I'm not reporting here because like numbers and whatnot, because we can't independently verify those numbers. But we can report that he's saying agents are going to leave. Now we can begin the process of verifying, are agents leaving? How many will remain? What is the timeline? We can begin to independently try to track that down. He said that they will continue to go if state and local officials provide more assistance in transferring undocumented immigrants with criminal records from jail custody to federal authorities. Again, Jim, to what you were saying, Department of Corrections, not BCA, was saying, the commissioner, that there was already that cooperation between ICE and state officials in terms of transferring. Now, that apparently wasn't at all levels, because there were county jails and sheriffs that were creating agreements with ICE, but we don't know the nature of those. There was already, to your point, Jim, there was that partnership. So is he just saying, well, we had the partnership and now we got what we wanted and we're going to leave? How much of this is saving face and how much of it isn't saving face is something that we don't know, and we probably won't know for a little bit here until we're able to get some more verification and journalism.
Well, the reason I think it's important that people hear the truth is that this force of untrained, dangerous criminals is coming to your city, and you should not be naive, as we perhaps were, or other of the early cities that they came to. You should not be naive about that. You should know that if you hear about ICE coming there, DHS coming there, you are in danger. Your house, your family, your schools, your community, your car are all in danger. And that's why I don't care what Holman said, unless he wants to make an apology. That'd be fine. I'd listen to that. Other than that, the man has nothing to say worth listening to. I think Walz is being polite because he wants to get them out of here, because he also said today they're going to pay for all the damage they've done. Now that's going to be a long bridge to nowhere, but he's right. They owe us a lot more than just self-congratulations.
I understand the point that you're trying to make, and we have to report what he said so that we can begin to hold him accountable to that. We are getting a number of statements from folks. St. Paul Mayor Kali Hur said that any drawdown or end Operation Metro Surge must be followed by real action. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey said in a statement, quote, "They thought they could break us, but a love for our neighbors and a resolve to endure can outlast an occupation. This operation has been catastrophic for our neighbors and businesses, and now it's time for a great comeback." That was Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. The organizers of the ICE Out of Minnesota coalition, they also released a statement. They said these masked agents leaving our state can be spun any way people want, but history will show what this was. Regular people, clergy and teachers, janitors and soccer moms, people across all of our complicated differences, simply refusing to let our neighbors be attacked and abducted without a fight. The level of solidarity shown by Minnesotans should be an example for everyone, and we couldn't be more proud of our state. Also, the Antonio Romanocci, the attorney for the family of Renee Nicole Good, also issued a statement They said in that, we are cautiously optimistic about the drawdown of federal agents from Minnesota, and we are hopeful that it brings much needed relief to members of the community there. The nation will be watching to see if and where these agents are redeployed. The agents' departure from Minnesota does not dismiss the absolute need for accountability for their actions during Operation Metro Surge. Now, Governor Walz, that was Antonio Romanucci, the attorney for the family of Renee Nicole Good, and Governor Walz did say that there was supposed to be a joint investigation between BSA and the FBI to investigate the killings of the murders of Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy. But apparently, because that got leaked, the feds ended the cooperation deal. So we will see what happens there. But Walz said, I think they understand they have got to do a joint investigation. It is my expectation we will get a joint investigation. We'll see how that goes. This is an administration that we know likes to run away from things and then ignore and paper up all of the evidence. So it would not surprise me at all if they choose to just leave and we don't actually find the truth, and they stonewall us in trying to get it.
Well, my opinion is that Jonathan Ross will receive justice one way or the other. That's my opinion.
Jim, I don't know what that means, and I just want to strongly say that we do not condone violence.
I'm not
on
condoning
this show.
violence. I believe justice will be done. I have confidence in that.
That's very ominous. So things that we don't know right now. Again, the number of agents who will still remain here, but something that, like last night, we went to a restaurant, and there are signs on the door that say you can't just walk into some restaurants. The doors are locked. You have to ring a doorbell, and they come and let you in. This is security features that they take to make sure that ICE doesn't barrel their way in there.
Right.
Now, if there are still 150 agents left, how do we rebuild that trust? We need to know what tactics they're going to be doing here. We need to know how they're going to be prowling around or not prowling around our neighborhoods so that businesses can feel comfortable in opening their businesses again, allowing for operations to return the way they were. And we're not sure yet what return even means right now, what that's going to look like. But we're going to have some type of recovery, and we're going to talk more about what we know and what we don't know when we come back here. You are listening to The Gailey Show on AM 950 Radio, KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk. More after this quick break.
Blue Man Group's North American Tour is coming to the State Theater February 13th through 15th. Dive into the thrilling Blue Man Group experience, a blend of captivating music, interactive art, and audience engagement. Blue Man Group creates a fun, disruptive, and out-of-the-ordinary atmosphere that exhilarates the senses and uplifts spirits for audiences of all ages. Tickets are on sale now at hennepinarts.org.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
In today's uncertain times, Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces believes that a fire can add comfort and security to your life. At Woodland, our mission is to connect you to a place for fire that works.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces installed our wood stove years ago, and we still love it. Watching the fire, feeling the heat is a joy we experience every day. And knowing we have a reliable heat source makes us feel snug and safe.
There are many choices in wood, gas, or electric. For diversity and styles, at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, we display over 180 models, and 35 of of these are burning displays. You can experience the glow and warmth of a live fire.
Whether wood, gas, or electric, find a fire that warms your heart, a fire that adds comfort and security to your life. See the many choices at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, located on the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis, and online at woodlandstoves.com.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces since 1977. For over 48 years, our slogan has been out of the ordinary products and services. Our mission is to get you a fireplace that works in your life.
Uncover the rich history of Minnesota through Whoosh, a lively and deeply moving ghost tale. Solo artist Andrew Erskine Wheeler masterfully brings to life a range of characters, intertwining the rich history of St. Anthony Falls in the post-Civil War era with the story of its Irish heritage. This award-winning show weaves a hauntingly local and unforgettable ghost story through compelling song and storytelling. The History Theater's Whoosh plays January 29th through February 22nd. Find tickets at historytheater.com. This Valentine's Day, give the gift of reading at Next Chapter Booksellers. Whether you're trying to survive Trump administration 2 or seeking something cozy, they've got you covered. Their newest nonfiction table offers books to channel anxiety into action. While for something lighter, check out their Japanese and Korean healing fiction, or explore their upsetting shelf of surreal, strange novels. Next Chapter Booksellers can help you find the perfect gift for Valentine's Day, whether to inspire, comfort, or escape. Located off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul, more at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I'm John Parker. We're coming up on the bottom of the hour, joined in studio by my co-host, Jim Pounds. And for those who are tuning in for the conversation with Lucas Schleusener from Out in National Security, talking about U.S. national security today, we are moving that episode to tomorrow because we are covering the announcement today that Operation Metro Surge will be ending. Again, claims that it will be ending. We're going to have to verify that, there are claims that agents have already left this week. We haven't been able to verify that number. There are claims that they will continue to draw down over the next week. We will obviously have to verify that to see how many are going to leave, if it is going to be over the next week. So, we'll be watching that. I think that, some big questions that we still have here, as we were talking about before the break, is how are they going to act? However many are left here, how are they going to act? Are they going to still be ramming their cars into people? Are they still going to be chasing people down on our highways and on our freeways and just arresting them without checking their IDs, or checking that they are actually, documented individuals before they're arresting them and taking them down to the Whipple Building? Are they going to still continue to act that way? Because that has led to a lot of fear and distrust and causing our businesses to shut down. We're going to talk about the immigration, the economic impact on immigrant-owned businesses here in a few minutes, and not just immigrant-owned businesses. But workers aren't going in. Customers aren't going in to businesses. And so we need to know that these are going to be safe, and we can't know that until we know how the ICE agents are going to be told how to do their jobs here, and if they're going to continue to do it in this aggressive, violent fashion. Things that we also don't know about: the people who have been taken to other states, including children. Are they going to be returned? The folks that are in the Dilley Center in Texas, are they coming back now that Operation Metro Surge is over? The charges against peaceful, legal, constitutional observers, are those going to be dropped? What happens to the caseload right now? There are habeas petitions up the wazoo in federal court right now. The U.S. Attorney's Office is operating on a skeleton crew because people keep quitting rather than doing the work that DOJ, the nonsense. They're like, no, we're not going to work through this. We're not going to bring these cases. We're not going to try to defend what the DOJ, what DHS is trying to do here. So they're leaving. What happens to all of those cases? The courts are completely overwhelmed, not just the federal ones, but the state ones. What is going to happen with those? Is DHS going to drop all of those cases and say, yeah, we're going to return people. We're going to drop these charges against people? Are they going to stop trying to deport Liam Ramos and his dad from this country? They keep trying to get rid of his asylum claim because they're obsessed with this 5-year-old. So it's just, you can say that the agents are leaving. I think this is where I'm going with this. And then Jim, I'll get your your feedback on that. You can say that they're leaving, the agents, but there is all of this other stuff that was wrapped up in Operation Metro Surge. The violence, the tactics of the agents. There's still going to be agents here. All of the court cases, those aren't going anywhere just because the agents are leaving. The economic impact, that's still going to remain just because the agents are leaving. So I fear that the idea that I see already happening in the media and the headlines that I'm reading is Operation Metro Surge is coming to the end. The agents are all going to leave. This story is now over. The situation is now over. And that's not actually the case because we have all these court cases, because we have people that are still wrongfully detained in other states. What are the agreements that are existing between local law enforcement and ICE? You know, these things that are 287G agreements. Are those going to continue? Are those legal? Or are we just gonna, are we just gonna let them go because, we're tired of dealing with this right now? Like, that's questions that still remain that need to be answered here. Jim, your thoughts?
Well, the first thing that I thought of was the poor people in the Whipple Building who never should have been there for an hour. And some of them have been, this is inhumane, people. This is the worst of the worst in terms of how you treat human beings when you pretend to be law enforcement and you're not, when you hate these people, which is how they're being treated inhumanely. So this has been going on in our city, downtown, for 9 weeks.
Since November 30th.
Or I'm sorry, since November 10th or 3 months.
Over 70 days.
70 days. So every day, every hour, that kind of atrocity is happening in our city. So that's one of the things I worry about. There's a strong indication that the person that or the people that put Shirley, who was the social media jerk, who came here and reported on the Somali problem, which was BS.
Nick Shirley, the right-wing
Nick
YouTuber.
Shirley, that he was brought in here and
Also
was alerted to this problem by the Republican Party in Minnesota. So that puts, in my opinion, Lisa DeMuth and others in that party in the proverbial crosshairs in terms of if they had a role to play to tipping him off, and then that loudmouth tipped off Stephen Miller, and he salivates at the opportunity to hurt a lot of people of color, a place that treats people of color at least a little better than every place else. I think the story has not yet been told. Matt was talking about this on his show yesterday. I think the story has not been told that we were set up by people in our own state. And Tom Emmer today was shooting his mouth off about the success of ICE. He is one of those complicit in sicking these idiots on us in the first place. So there is, in my mind, a lack of legitimacy in elected Republicans in this state if they had any role to play in what they've done. And they've got some answering to do and some paying to do, as far as I'm concerned.
To your point on that, something that I think was really interesting yesterday were the fraud hearings in the House. And all of these, Republicans were there because they are so desperate to change the conversation away from Operation Metro Surge to fraud, which they think is their winning issue in the legislative elections here in Minnesota in November. And it's like, first of all, no one is going to forget this. That's the level of violence that you perpetrated on this community. I mean, 1 in 4 Minnesotans in that polling that came out yesterday from Kara Levin, Star Tribune, and NBC News said that 1 in 4 Minnesotans have participated in some type of protest against ICE and DHS here over the past 70 plus days. So to me, to your point, I feel like the state level folks and the Republican congressional folks were like, quick, let's put together these hearings on fraud in Minnesota. I think that I think there's something to be said about local Republicans, statewide Republicans wanting to attack the Somali community. I think that was absolutely something that was going on there. They saw that as a winning issue. And on the fraud thing, look at what's happening in Texas, folks. Billions of dollars in Medicaid fraud. I mean, there are cases, I don't have them pulled up here. I'm going to have that for next week, but there are multiple cases over the past year of fraud in Texas. They're not having hearings about that. because they're desperately trying to change the conversation here in Minnesota. We got to fit in a quick break. You're listening to The Gailey Show.
Hello, Minnesota. This is Tom Hartman, and you can catch me every weekday from 11 to 2 right here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's smart radio for smart people.
Get ready to zoom into a world full of color, música, and alegría at Children's Theater Company. Go Da Go, Ve Pero Ve is a bilingual musical bursting with playful, high-speed energy as dogs drive, swim, and race to the big dog party. This joyful espectáculo blends English y Espanol with expressive physical storytelling. Go Da Go is sure to have you laughing, moving, and howling with delight. On stage January 20th through February 22nd. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
Hi, this is Frank Brown with Minuteman Press Uptown. It's election season. If you're campaigning for a candidate, your outreach needs top quality union printed materials, from direct mail and yard signs to door hangers, buttons, t-shirts, and flyers. Minuteman Uptown is your union shop to get people to the polls. We print everything. We'll keep your candidate top of mind, target your message with a laser focus, and maximize your voter turnout efforts. Get started today at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
At Schroman Law, we provide more than just legal documents. We walk alongside our clients to ensure their wishes and legacies are being honored with every choice. And we do this while recognizing that this process can be emotional and weighty. Our team includes attorneys, as well as a grief coach and a published writer ready to assist with legacy letters and extra wishes to go alongside your healthcare directive. Contact us today to learn more at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hi, I'm Mary T. I'm a proud supporter of AM 950 because this station shares the values that I care about most: community, connection, and making a difference. Just like AM 950, I believe in using our energies, our resources, and our voices to lift up others. That's why I started the Mary T. Scholar Program at the University of Minnesota College of Education and Human Development, providing graduate students with internships internationally. For over the past 10 years, our students have served communities in Laos, Cambodia, Nepal, India, Cameroon, and Thailand, gaining experience and helping people in ways that really make a difference. Supporting AM 950 fosters conversation, awareness, and action in our communities. It's about shared values and believing that together we can make a difference. Visit marytinc.com to learn more about the work that we do.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Today, sunshine with a high of 44, then tonight partly cloudy with a low of 23. Get your exquisite, elegant box of French macarons from Nicolette's Macarons in Plymouth. Nicolette's is conveniently located off Highway 169 and 36th Avenue. Stop in at the store or order your box online at nicolettesmacarons.com.
AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk where facts matter. Welcome back to The Gailey Show. It is 33 minutes after the hour. I'm John Parker, joined in studio by my co-host, Jim Pounds. Also streaming live on our YouTube channel right now. And if you like what you're seeing, leave us a comment. If you're not a troll, I'll read it on air. And subscribe as well. All right. So we were talking before the break about the role that state Republicans had in Operation Metro Surge. And I think they saw this as a win for them coming in here. And then it just all literally fell apart because everything that MAGA touches is an absolute disaster for regular human beings. And I see them already trying to pivot back to the fraud conversation. We saw this in the caucuses where the reporters that were going to these various caucus sites and interviewing Republicans that were there said, oh, you know, I don't like what it's doing. Let's refocus it to worst of the worst. But we really got to talk about the fraud in Minnesota. The fraud. Okay. Well, I'm not saying that that shouldn't be talked about, but they're trying to get away from their culpability in the situation. In December, they were all for Operation Metro Surge. Every single MAGA person that you would have talked to was like, yeah, I'm in favor of Operation Metro Surge. And even when you look at the polling that came out yesterday from NBC News and KARE 11, our NBC affiliate, and the Star Tribune, when you look at the question of, do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling the issue of border security and immigration, 76% of Republicans still say they strongly approve. Okay, so 76% of them have not learned or refuse to believe reality. Obviously they refuse to believe reality. Another 14% somewhat approve of how Trump is dealing with immigration. So I can see why they still approve of Operation Metro Surge. They still think it was the right thing to do, as mind-boggling as that is. But now they desperately want to pivot away and not talk about it anymore and go back to talking about fraud. I think it's the same situation that we saw in Maine, where Susan Collins went, hey, morons, I have a very hard Senate election coming up. Do not send ICE here. Let's make it seem like I worked out and saved Maine from ICE, which is exactly how she positioned it. Well, no, it was a political calculus. It was a political calculus.
She's going to lose anyway. But
we thought that last time. All right. So today, in his press conference, reacting to Homan's press conference, Governor Walz and the Matt Verilik, who is the deed commissioner, they announced that they are launching a $10 million loan program. The loans will be from $2,500 to $25,000. There's a 0% interest rate on these loans that can be paid back over 3 years. However, after 1 year, if a business can demonstrate that they had suffered substantial impact from the presence of ICE and CPB on their operations, they can get 50% of their loan forgiven. So that is going to, I don't know when that is going to go into effect, but they have announced it. Walz also said in the press conference, Jim, you referenced this earlier, he said, quote, the federal government needs to pay for what they broke here. You don't get to break things and just leave. We're going to be asking our federal delegation to lead on that in DC. The economic impacts of this are going to be long lasting here. Minneapolis City Council member Jason Chavez is going to bring a resolution to the City Council next week that is going to reallocate, or would reallocate, $5 million from the city's downtown assets fund to local business grants. The city also approved $1 million for emergency rent assistance for residents, because so many of them have not been going to work, or have reduced work hours, or their businesses have had to been shut down, or their businesses have just lost 75% of their revenue. So that is emergency grants. The governor said that he didn't have the legal authority to issue an eviction moratorium. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if that's true or not. The last time we saw that, though, Governor Walz did issue an eviction moratorium during the COVID pandemic. But it is wild to me how, because Minnesota did a better than average job than other states in the union of recovering from COVID, how they are literally going back to that blueprint of, how did we get out of COVID? All right, we're going to have to use that toolkit, that approach, to get us out of the damage that Operation Metro Surge has wreaked upon Minnesota and the Twin Cities. And just some numbers I want to throw out here. The Latino Economic Development Center, they surveyed 90 Latino-owned businesses, and how many, Jim, do you think said that they were temporarily closed due to staff shortages or a drop in foot traffic of the 90?
Of the 90, because they can be non-consumer sort of businesses too. They could be manufacturing or something. I'm going to say 40% of them are closed.
Just under a third were either temporarily closed due to staff shortages or a little drop in foot traffic affecting revenue. Immigrant-owned businesses overall, from the city's cultural districts, estimated revenue losses of 80 to 100% here in the Twin Cities. Now, as a reminder to folks who don't know this about Minnesota or aren't living in Minnesota, 99.7% of the businesses in Minnesota are small businesses. Okay, 99.7%. So when we have that many businesses who are temporarily shutting down or outright shutting down, that has a huge impact on Minnesota, and particularly the Twin Cities, because so many of the concentration of folks has been here in the Twin Cities, the concentration of business closures. The Lake Street Council has said that the 1,000 immigrant-owned businesses just on the Lake Street corridor have lost a cumulative $46 million in December and January, and about a half of them in that Lake Street corridor are closed on a given day. So the economic recovery here is going to take a very long time. I mean, the damage that they have created in 70 plus days of Operation Metro Surge, we're going to be spending years trying to put back together and fix and make people whole.
I'm curious if there's anybody on YouTube or something from Chicago. I feel like that was more concentrated, but I don't know that it was. I know that they went to that one place where they were all mustered out of. In other words, they could protest right there because they knew that's where ICE was operating out of. But I don't remember hearing the kind of violence in Chicago. I know there was some violence. I know somebody was killed, but was it? I wonder if they've had the same, like how much of recovery have they had in Chicago? I think there's still some stuff going on there, but I think the majority of it is maybe settled down.
Funny you should say that, because I found this document this morning. The Minnesota State Senate put together a document about the cost of Operation Metro Surge, and they were using the analysis that Chicago did. And Operation Midway Blitz, which is Chicago, that had a price tag of $59 million over 3 months of that operation. Operation Metro Surge was exponentially larger than that. I think there were 300 agents.
Yeah, it was
300 or
7 times
600, and we had 3,000 agents, and still we,
right,
2,000 approximately from ICE and 1,000 approximately from Customs and Border Protection.
Right.
So, yeah, we're looking at. I mean, the Senate was looking at in this document here that Operation Metro Surge was about $9 million in personnel compensation alone each week.
Oh, each week. Yeah.
We calculate that each week of Operation Metro Surge costs nearly $9 million in personnel compensation alone. Per week, about $4.5 million to feed and house the agents.
Right.
The weekly cost of a detention is $1.6 million.
It was hundreds
Police
of millions of
overtime, $3 million per week.
Right. To accomplish what? And they won't tell us that. The number of arrests is a meaningless metric. The number of serious criminals, people guilty of
that's
a felony.
That's the thing.
Those are
numbers. Those are numbers we're never going to get.
No,
because they're lying.
Because the numbers that we would get would tell us what a monumental waste this was. Financially, pain, trust, all the things you've mentioned. It was not worth it to do that.
And I say that journalists should be saying DHS lies to you, because you can never independently verify the numbers. He Tom Homan threw out a number this morning about the number of arrests that they made. I'm not going to report it because I can't have it be independently verified that number is accurate. We'll never know unless we do our own, if everybody finds every single person that was detained and arrested by ICE, the number of undocumented to documented people. We had so many reports of people being immediately arrested, yanked out of their cars, yanked out of their homes, driven around for an hour, or taken all the way down to the Whipple Building, only to be found, oh yeah, you weren't lying to us. You are, you do have a valid work visa. You do have a green card. You are a U.S. citizen, and then just let go again. We're not going to get that actual number until we actually, are able to do a survey.
They did that to people from St. Cloud.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, all across the state.
Hours away from their home, and just let them go.
So I don't think, journalistically speaking, it is incorrect or, biased to say that DHS has been lying to us.
Right.
It's not misrepresenting. It's not, selectively giving data. It is lying. They lie to us about the numbers. And I don't think we're ever going to know that number of how many people were they just picking up and throwing into a car,
right?
And taking down to Whipple.
I think
and worse, getting them on a plane and flying them away to Dilley in Texas or to other locations.
That costs money too. Yeah, it's a monumental for the party that thinks of itself as a business. They don't know anything about being responsible with money or intelligent with money or having a strategy and being accountable to the strategy.
For working class people, for small business owners, no, they don't. Right. They absolutely don't. If it's for Target, looking at you, Target. If it's for Fortune 500 companies, oh yeah, they're giving them all sorts of goodies.
Speaking of liars.
So speaking of liars, here is another story. In a Senate Homeland Security Committee meeting this morning, ICE's acting director, Todd Lyons, said when asked, do you believe Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy were domestic terrorists? He said, to my knowledge, no. Direct quote. This is despite the fact that Kristi Noem, J.D. Vance, Stephen Miller, and the president himself all said that Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy were domestic terrorists. Pam Bondi. Let's not forget her.
How can you? That's a great defamation suit, isn't it?
They're dead.
No, but I think their families can. I don't know.
That's why we need to have an independent investigation. And to his credit, also happening today was the same hearing where Rand Paul from Kentucky saying, you all need to be held accountable here. Like, he was calling them out and saying, at no point was Alex Preddy. He was at one point he said, and I don't have the direct quote here. Rand Paul was saying, this guy was leaving. He was backing away. He was de-escalating the situation, and your agents kept escalating the situation. He said the woman that Alex Preddy was trying to defend, she was moving away. He asked, is it standard practice to push women to the ground, face down into ice and cement?
In Trump's world,
to his credit, on that end, we might get some accountability for Alex Preddy.
Yeah.
More on this story, if you can believe it. There's a lot more to get to when we come back. You're listening to The Gailey Show. Stay tuned.
Blue Man Group's North American Tour is coming to the State Theater February 13th through 15th. Dive into the thrilling Blue Man Group experience, a blend of captivating music, interactive art, and audience engagement. Blue Man Group creates a fun, disruptive, and out-of-the-ordinary atmosphere that exhilarates the senses and uplifts spirits for audiences of all ages. Tickets are on sale now at hennepinarts.org.
Crooners is a classic supper club with a wide range of entertainment. Make your reservations for a parade of international, national, and local artists in the main stage showroom, the intimate Dunsmore Jazz Room, or outdoors at the seasonal Belvedere Under the Stars space. Or enjoy Maggie's Piano Lounge. Enjoy 4-star food and drinks with first-class supper club service. What are you waiting for? Go to croonersmn.com for more information and schedule. That's croonersmn.com.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love to you and your home. This month, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $119 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been telling you about my friends at Snap Construction, who are arguably the most well-reviewed exterior construction company in the metro. Don't just take my word for it. Take a look at all their reviews online. Winter is the most cost-effective time of the year to complete your construction project. A majority of Minnesotans choose to have their work completed on their home in the summer when they should be enjoying the weather. As a result, the demand for labor in the summer is much higher. The most cost-effective way to improve or restore your home is in the winter due to the lower demand. Right now, Snap Construction is offering an additional 30% off of labor to the AM 950 listeners on your next construction project between now and the end of February. Call 612-333-SNAP and mention AM 950 for an additional 30% off. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate by calling 612-333-SNAP. Or find them online at snapconstruction.com. Financing options available.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I'm John Parker in studio with my co-host, Jim Pounds. We're coming up on the top of the hour. All right, so a couple of other stories happening today. Hennepin County is today weighing a ban on federal agents wearing masks on all of their properties. So this is a resolution that would keep all law enforcement agents from wearing any type of face covering to conceal their identity if they're in a county-owned or a county-leased building. Counties do have the authority to regulate what happens on their property. Maybe this is the way the timing worked out. Yes, that's great to have that going forward. It would have been nice to see that happen earlier. But Commissioner Angela Conley said that this would apply to all county buildings. And Wednesday, they had a chaotic scene where ICE agents were going in masked, trying to detain an individual who was at a hearing there. You may remember, you may not remember all of the videos that came out of New York City last year in the spring of ICE agents violently going into courtrooms and arresting people who were there either attending a hearing for someone else, they were witnesses, or they themselves were subject to the hearing, and they were just violently being torn away from their lawyers, from their family members. We saw the comptroller, the New York comptroller, Eric Landers. He was arrested, literally forcibly shoved to the ground and taken away just because he was observing and making sure that people were getting their due process. So that happened here in Hennepin County on Wednesday. Also happened today, an announcement from Columbia Heights Public Schools. So if you recall our episode from last week, where we specifically looked at Columbia Heights because that city has been one of the most targeted cities in all of Operation Metro Surge. And we were very grateful to have the state senator who represents Columbia Heights, Mary Kunesh, Senator Kunesh. And then we also had Elijah Norris Holiday, who is running to represent Columbia Heights as part of the District 39B in the Minnesota House this November. We were really talking about what's happening there, and Columbia Heights Public Schools have said today that they are going to start going back to in-person classes. They had online classes as a option, And now that the agents are leaving, they're going to go back to that. I can't get out of my head what Senator Kunish told us last week, where she was being told by school board members of Columbia Heights Public Schools that they had ICE agents just watching them outside their homes, just parking outside their homes. And there was one story that she was telling us last week where a board member called the cops and said, "What is going on here?" And the Columbia Heights officers, rolled up and they talked to the agents, and the agents left. And then an hour later, another car pulled up on the street, parked outside their home. So that's what was happening in Columbia Heights. I'm sure it wasn't just happening in Columbia Heights, but that is the school system, the school district where Liam Ramos, the 5-year-old, was abducted, used as bait to get other people to get other people to find if there were other undocumented folks lawfully in the country on an asylum pathway. There are 2 students from that school district. 7 in total were detained. 2 are still in detention. So they announced today, though, that they are going to start going back to in person. But the work that they're going to have to do to support these students now, I mean, that is going to be top of mind. They're going to be thinking about that. And when you still know that there are 150 or however many left there are going to be in the Twin Cities, I mean, that leads to a level of fear and anxiety that is going to continue for these kids until we know that ICE is completely out of Minnesota. Lawyers this week also finally got access to the Whipple Building. Now, I know we've been talking about the Whipple Building here on the show because the situation in there has just been atrocious. U.S. Representative Kelly Robinson. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking on her name right now. 20 years worked as a doctor in OBGYN. She was in there 3 times last week and said the conditions were deplorable and they need to shut down the Whipple Building as a detention center. Well, lawyers finally appealed and were able to get in themselves. And one lawyer, I'm looking at a document here that was submitted to the court, said all detainees I observed were shackled at the ankles even while sleeping and in the holding cells. From my observations of several holding cells, I did not see any detainee who had a blanket, pillow, sleeping pad, or cot. I saw men sleeping on the floor with no bedding. The phones that they were given to contact their lawyers didn't dial out. The numbers that they were given as legal representation weren't actually numbers for legal representation. This was submitted by Hannah Sanderson, who is a lawyer with the Advocates for Human Rights.
It was Kelly Morrison.
Kelly Morrison, thank you. Not Robinson, Kelly Morrison, thank you for that. So the conditions in there, what is going to happen now? We say that Operation Metro Surge is ending, but if there are still agents operating in the Twin Cities, operating in Minnesota, are they still going to keep using Whipple Building as a detention center? And if so, are the conditions in that going to be improved? Again, we want ICE, and that's the editorial opinion of this show, ICE out of Minnesota, all of ICE out of Minnesota. We'll see. I mean, we'll have to keep reporting on it and trying to hold them accountable. But just because the agents are supposedly leaving doesn't mean the problems or the after effects of the problems are going to be over. And it's very possible that just because the agents are leaving, they're still going to keep those horrific conditions in the Whipple Building going.
It makes you wonder if people living around a concentration camp in Poland or something if they ever knew what was going on there, if they would surround the place and just,
we had lots of protests
siege.
there, lots and lots of protests there.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for us today. Up next on WCPT 820 in Chicago is Democracy Now! Here in Minneapolis, it is the Matt McNeil Show. Stay tuned after that for Native Roots Radio. And then at 10 p.m. Central, Step Into the Unknown with Greg Bakken on Ghost Box Radio. And until this time tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.